In this example, you're to factor the polynomial 18x cubed minus 15x squared minus 12x. Now always the first thing you try to do is, can you factor out the greatest common factor? And in this case, yes, you can factor out, let's see, the 18 and 15 and 12 are all divisible by 3, and each term does have an x. So we could factor out the 3, and let's see, the lowest power of that x that shows up in any one of the terms is to the first. So we could only factor out a 3x. And let's see, what we'd have left over would be what? 6x squared minus 5x minus 4. So after we factor out the GCF, we see, can we factor out what's inside the parentheses anymore? The 6x squared minus 5x minus 4. Now this is a trinomial. It has 3 terms, and the leading coefficient is not 1. So we could do this by trial and error or the AC method. Let's see if we were to use the AC method. Remember, for the AC method is the first step, multiply your A times C, your leading coefficient times your constant. So that would be 6 times negative 4. And then you got to find what are two numbers whose product is that negative 24, their product, and whose sum would be the middle coefficient of negative 8. Well, their product is supposed to be negative 24. So one's positive, one's negative. Their sum is supposed to be negative 5, so the larger one must be the negative value. So one possibility would be 1 and negative 24, or 2 and negative 12, or 3 and negative 8, and 4 and negative 6. Well, in this case, the correct pair was at 3 and negative 8, right? Because the sum of those two terms would be negative 5x. So what we do next is we break up the middle term using those two values. So I'm going to write this as 3x, and then we have the parentheses 6x squared. And instead of that minus 5x, I'm going to put this as minus 8x plus 3x. Because if you combine those two terms, you do get that minus 5x. So we haven't changed the polynomial. And then we'd have that minus 4. Okay, what we do next, we do our factor by grouping. So we'd have that 3x, and let's see, group together the first two terms. And since we do have our plus sign between the second and third term, we just put a plus and then group together the second two terms. Well, let's see, from that first pair, the 6x squared minus 8x, I could factor out a 2x, and I'd have left over 3x minus 4. From the second pair, I can't really factor out anything, but we still could factor out that factor of 1. So we'd have that 1 times that 3x minus 4. And what's inside those two parentheses, that 3x minus 4, is the same for both of those. So what we could do now is, from those two terms inside the parentheses, we could factor out that binomial. So we'd have that 3x still, and then times the 3x minus 4 that we're factoring out. And then from that first term, we had the 2x, and from the second term, we had that plus 1. So this is now factored completely.